Alright, it's the morning of Thursday, October 28th, and I am going to my parents' house to do some work today. So, it's a pretty straightforward drive. Not a lot of turns, so I'll fast forward through the straight parts. But without further ado, let's go for a little drive. Alright, the car slowed down there a bit in the middle of the intersection, but the car to my left was still a ways away, so no real issues there, but just still a little bit overly cautious there, but I know that will go away in future builds. Alright, so a definite change in behavior from 10.2 to 10.3 with that turn there. Before it would be a little bit more, I don't know, quickly approaching the intersection. In this build it creeps forward much more gradual, but you know, when it actually came to doing the turn, I felt like it did hesitate a bit more. You know, as far as the turn goes itself, it's not hammering on the throttle as much as it used to. Going through that intersection back there too, one thing I noticed, I feel like in 10.2 it would have stopped at that light, but in 10.3 on assertive, it just proceeded to go through it, as it was kind of already yellow as we entered the intersection. So, didn't break the law, but I'm kind of glad it went through that. Otherwise, that light is actually a long one, so it would have taken a few minutes to wait in line there. So one annoyance that I have with, you know, 10.2 and 10.3, we'll see what it does here, but coming up to this intersection, it should be getting over to the right when you see the dotted lines here. And what it likes to do is it likes to sit in like the left lane that we're in now and then try to make the right turn. So if anybody comes up behind me, I usually take over, just because they get confused as to why I'm sitting in the left lane. So we do have some cars coming up behind us. I'm just going to take over here and I'll make this turn manually. So looking forward to 10.4 to see if there's any improvements in regards to this intersection. So one thing I noticed is the car wanted to get over to the right to say it was following the route, but both of these lanes go straight to where I need to go, and I actually, about a mile up or so up the road, I need to actually get over another lane in the left. So I'm not quite sure why it was doing that, so I just canceled the lane change with the stock there. We just exited Highway 10 and now we're going to be turning left onto Main Street. So we'll see how it does with this curve here. The car on the left kind of stuck out a little bit, so it looks like it's trying to take it pretty tight. Well, it did a great job of figuring it out there and readjusting its line as it needed to. So in the past on 10.2, it took that corner too tight, and I had to take over the first time I took that turn. The second time it seemed to do it just fine, but again, it seems to be 50-50 depending on, you know, the conditions and everything. But today it's, you know, lightly raining and whatnot, so. We shaved it a bit too much speed off there. I mean, the light's green, so I would prefer the car to actually carry some more speed approaching the intersection, but line-wise did a great job, made that turn just fine. And then this is our last left turn of the route here, at least for the first leg. Did a great job with that left turn back there. That's never really been a challenge for FSD Beta. And did a great job with that right turn as well. Well, thanks for watching. I will have another video for the return route later in the day. So thank you. Alright, it is the afternoon of Thursday, October 28th. And I'm going to be driving home from my parents' house in Coon Rapids to my house in northeast Minneapolis. It's still raining a little bit like it was this morning. Nothing too crazy or heavy, so most of this drive is pretty straight. There's a few turns, so I'll fast forward all the straight parts to keep it to the point. But without further ado, let's go for a drive. Not sure why it decided to stop there, if it was detecting the garbage can as a person or what, but car came to a complete stop. But again, nobody's behind me, so it figured it out. So like with pretty much any unmarked roads that we saw in 10.2 and 10.3 now, the car likes to center itself more on these roads for whatever reason versus staying more to the right. Again, I hope that's something they look at correcting down the road, especially when there's no cars on the right like there were on the street. Nice job with that left turn. It's a bit of a blind corner on the left there because of the fence. So up here I'm expecting it to not want to just keep going. As you can see with the sign here, we have our own lane. However, the car likes to come to a complete stop here. Let's see if it does it again. Yeah, it's doing the same thing, so I'm just going to give it some accelerator here. It's kind of funny because human drivers, like pretty much all human drivers in this area, make that same mistake as FSD, but if we're going to follow the street signs, which we should be doing, then it should obviously just continue to go because it has its own lane. So here the car is being really cautious and slowing down, but as you can see, it made that corner. I've had it a few times where I gave it a little too much accelerator and it couldn't make out that outside line and it was going to go straight off the road, so I had to take over. So I'd rather it be cautious, see the line, versus the opposite of that happening. So. So one thing I just noticed there, the car just kind of abruptly just hit the brakes there. Even though the car in front of me was slowing down a little bit, it wasn't slowing down a ton. So I'm not just sure if it was a glitch because of the fact that it's vision only and there's some water in the way or what, but that was a little bit unsettling. But the car figured it out so quickly I didn't even have a chance to hit the accelerator to adjust. So again, the car hit the brakes there. I don't know if it's because of the truck to my right, but I've noticed that before where sometimes the car focuses a bit too much on the vehicle to my right. Even though it's in its own lane, not getting in my lane at all. So I'm gonna hit report on that one and follow up. I'm trying to figure out why it did that. Alright, and up here we have pretty much our last left turn of this route. And again, the car is just really hard on the brakes there. Very, very rough. And it doesn't really need to be. It should be a bit more gradual. Again, if somebody's behind me, they're going to get really flustered really quickly because of me, the car kind of constantly hitting the brakes so abruptly rather than just a smooth deceleration. Car did an excellent job with that left turn there. Historically, had done a pretty good job. Alright, so I'm going to hit cancel here. It's going to try a turn here. I forgot to set my navigation home. I wanted it to take a different route versus what it was telling me to do. Alright, there we go. Now we're set to go home. Alright, I'm just going to give it a little accelerator here. Again, even though we were first at the intersection, the car was a bit cautious there. I don't know why. It should have seen that car as stopped. I didn't have a chance to look on the screen. I was focused on the other driver, but there was really no reason for that hesitation. It should have just went. I think if we waited any longer, the other guy would have just went. Did an excellent job there proceeding without yielding to the car on my right that was turning. I was kind of worried for a second that it was going to want to slow down until that car on the right proceeded, but did a great job going around it and just continuing on with the intersection crossing, so that was pretty nice. And then up here we have our final turn of the route. Again, this is a pretty straightforward route, a lot of straight driving, but a few turns here and there that I want to highlight. But to be honest, no real behavior changes from 10.2 to 10.3. Some turns like that are a little bit smoother. It's not as aggressive on the accelerator after you hit your apex of a corner. But I will say the braking profiles, as I've highlighted a few times now in these past few drives, has been noticeably rougher with 10.3. The car applies a lot of braking input early on during braking versus just smoothly applying brakes. And it could be a little bit because I have track pads, but I can tell based on this screen too how much it's really hitting the brakes. It's just applying too much braking force regardless. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.